Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a crochet video. Finally, I know I've taken so long to do a crochet video and I'm sorry about that. I just didn't know what to make and I ordered yarn and then it just wasn't enough, so I had to find new yarn, and I was trying to find like a nice sustainable yarn and I just could not find a good cheap one anywhere. So I was at Michael's and I bought some yarn and I was like, we're just gonna use normal yarn and do this. I am gonna be making a bigger project soon, but I thought in the meantime I saw this yarn, the fuzzy latte cakes yarn, I think it's called. I'm gonna link it below and everything, but I was
like, this would make such a cute bucket hat.
So I was like, as a small project, while I figure out what I'm doing for my big project, I thought we would do a little bucket hat tutorial. This is super easy, honestly. I think it's easy at least. You do have to follow the pattern a bit. I know for the sweater crochet video that I made, there was no pattern. You just kind of measured and went along. This, there is kind of a pattern, so I'm gonna try and write it out, but I've never written a pattern before, so if it's wrong, I'm really sorry about that. Or like if it's not like written in the right way, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna try and explain while I make it. So hopefully it's easy to follow. And yeah, let's get into the video. Hi guys. Okay, so the yarn I'm going to be using for my hat is this one. It's the Caron Latte Cakes. I just saw this and I thought I would just make a cute bucket hat because of all this furry sticking out bits, and I just also like the ombre, but it's gonna be really hard for me to show you what I'm doing with this because of these furry things. It's especially at the start, it's almost impossible to see anything I'm doing. So I've already started using this yarn, but I'm gonna show you how to do it using just a plain dark yarn. So I'm gonna show you how to do it using this green yarn. But basically we're gonna start with a magic ring, and I'm gonna try and show you how I do a magic ring, but I'm also going to link some magic ring tutorials in the description in case I do a really bad job of it, and also because I'm not 100% sure I do it the correct way. But basically how I do it is I'm using a 4.5 mm hook, also because this is the only hook I have and this is the hook that I use for everything. But basically what I do is taking the yarn with the end facing towards you, you wrap it around 2 fingers like that, so the end is facing towards you, and you just let a little bit of that end hang off. And then I use a back finger to hold it in place and my thumb to hold it here, so it's kind of tight between these 2 fingers. And then I take my hook, I go under and pull that back strand forward, so pull it under and up over the front strand, and then you go back, and where your yarn is, you pull that yarn through the loop you just made like that, and that is going to be the start of your magic ring. And then we're going to start putting stitches on this magic ring. So I'm going to do that one more time just in case I did that too quick. So you have your yarn that you wrap over your fingers twice, and then you just hold it in place with your thumb and your other finger. And then I'm gonna take the back, pull it under and over, and then I'm gonna pull some more yarn through that loop, just like that. And now we're gonna start putting stitches on this ring. So we're gonna take that, we're gonna keep that loop in our hook, go underneath both of the yarns and pull yarn under, and then more yarn through those 2. We have 2 hoops there, and we just yarn through. And that's gonna be your first stitch. I don't know if you can see it, but that's your first stitch right there. So we're gonna do that again, still holding our 2 loops together. This is the front bit and our front. It should be kind of tighter now, so it should be easier to hold. I also don't know the words for anything, so I'm doing such a bad job of explaining this, but I'm trying. So you have a loop, we've made our first stitch, you're gonna go back under, hold this yarn, your working yarn, hold it back with your thumb, that's what I do. You're gonna take some more and yarn under, and then you're going to take more yarn and yarn through, and that's your second stitch right there. And we're gonna make 6 stitches. So we're gonna go under, pull some yarn up, and then yarn through. and that's our third stitch. Go under, bring some yarn up, and yarn through. That's our fourth stitch. Under, bring it up, pull it through, 5, go under, pull it through, 6. And all of these stitches you're doing over both pieces of yarn. So, and the reason, okay, where am I going? The reason for that is that when you pull this strand, it's gonna tighten up and make a little ring so that you can keep crocheting in a circle. So I'm gonna do that right now. We've got our 6 stitches right there. You should be able to count them. The 6 stitches. And then we're just gonna pull this strand of yarn that we have left over the end. We're just gonna pull that, and you see it starts tightening. It just becomes a little loop like that when you pull it. And then there's your magic ring. And then you can continue going in a circle. You can continue going in a circle from there, but and from there you just start crocheting. So I'm gonna put the stitches and the pattern for this in the description, and I'm also gonna list it somewhere on the screen. But basically you're gonna go around and you're gonna keep making this circle bigger and bigger and bigger, and the way you do that is you just add increases. So for example, the first stitch that you're gonna put in, or the first row after this one, your second row, is gonna be an increase in every single stitch. So that means you're gonna put 2 stitches into each stitch. That's when you see an increase, it means you're basically putting 2 stitches into each stitch. This project is also really gonna help if you have some kind of a stitch marker. So I just use paper clips. You can use a little piece of yarn. You can pretty much use anything. And the point of a stitch marker is just to tell you where your round started. So I'm gonna crochet my first stitch in. And then I'm gonna put my stitch marker on that first stitch right there. So that way I know that's where I started and I don't go over that. And that helps a lot, because then you don't have to, if you do lose your place, then you can just count and figure out where you started from, instead of having to unravel everything and start over, which would be really annoying. So I'm just gonna put 2 stitches into each stitch so that in total we're gonna have 12. And this is the last stitch before my stitch marker, so that's where I know I'm ending off. So I'm just gonna put 2 stitches into that one, and that's our second row. And you can already see with that second row, it's not curving up, it's just still laying flat, and that's how you know you're doing it right. If your circle starts curving up anywhere, it probably means you're not counting your stitches right, or you're not putting enough increases in. You want it to stay flat all the way until we start making the sides of the hat, because this is the top of the hat. We obviously want it to be flat. And basically you just keep doing that. So the second row was 2 increases in each stitch, or I mean an increase in every stitch. The third row is increase in every second stitch. The third row is increase in every third stitch. 4th stitch, 5th stitch, 6th stitch, and so on, and you just keep going like that. I'm not gonna do it because it's super repetitive, and I've actually already done it, as you can see here. This is about 19 rows, I think. I just measured my head and tried to approximate how big I needed this to be, but I'm on my 19th row, so 19 times 6, that's however many stitches I have. I think I want to do one more, and I'm gonna do that with you guys. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna be increasing on every 20th stitch. So that's why the stitch marker really helps, is because you can put your stitch there. I mean, like, you can put your, wow, I'm really confusing you guys right now. So basically the way the stitch marker helps is if you put it into your first stitch, you can basically count. So you're gonna start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. When I get to 19, I know that 20 has to be an increase. It's gonna be 19, 20 is an increase. And then I do that again. I start over from 1, if that makes sense. Let me do this one with you. I'm gonna put my first stitch in, and then I'm gonna put my stitch marker back into my first stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then 19 and 20 is going to be my increase. 19, 20. And then I'm going to start over and I'm going to go from 1 again, and then when I hit 19 it's going to be 1 stitch, and then 20 is going to go back in the same stitch, so it's going to be an increase. And you're probably going to start seeing a little, how many sides is that, a hexagon? Is that hexagon? A hexagonal pattern forming, and that's fine. I honestly don't think it makes that much of a difference, but that's basically what you're gonna do. Okay, I'm back at the start, and I think I'm happy with how big my top part of my hat is. I'm pretty sure that's how big my head is. Hopefully it is. But after this, I'm just going to start making the edge. So this is right before we start crocheting upwards, basically. So it's gonna make the sides of the hat. So to make the edge and make it bend a little bit better, I'm just gonna crochet into the back stitch only, or 1 stitch only. I don't know what the word is. I really should learn before I make crochet tutorials. This is so stupid. But let me see if it's gonna focus. Okay, so you see how the stitches are here? Oh, this is such a bad yarn to show you with. But if you can see the stitches right there, 1 and 2, usually you go through both of those little pieces of yarn to make a stitch, right? This time, we're only going to go through the back stitch, if that makes sense. I'm gonna try and show this to you close up if it focuses. So I'm only gonna go through that back stitch, through this back piece right there. Not both of them, only the back one. And you'll be able to tell the difference. Let me just do a couple so I can show you. You'll already be able to see the line forming there because you're only going through the back one. And then you'll start to see it's gonna start forming this line right here. And that's how you can tell you're doing it right, because these front stitches are being left unstitched and you're only going into the back one. So just find your stitches. You'll see they look like little V's. And you're only gonna go through the back of the V. I'm gonna do all the back stitches and then I'm gonna come back and then we're just gonna do the rounds as you normally would without increasing or decreasing, just keeping the same. Okay guys, I've done my back stitch only the whole way around. And now I'm just going to start doing the same number of stitches, no increases at all. Just keep going until the hat is as deep as I want it to be. And I'll just figure that out by trying it on. I'll let you know how many rows I end up doing, but this is what it looks like when it's the back stitch only. You should have that line running across the whole thing, and that line is going to kind of help it bend where you put your hat on, if that makes sense. So yeah, now it's pretty straightforward. You just keep stitching until your hat is looking like a hat. Hi guys, okay, so this is what the hat is looking like. I worked on the side and I counted, I've done 17 rows, and I feel like it's kind of at a place where I want it to start going out now. While doing it, I've definitely realized that I've made the hat way too big. I probably only needed like 16 rows here maybe. I did not need 20. So measuring by your head may not be the best method for that. So I've done 17 rows and they were just a single stitch in each stitch, if that makes sense. Just 1 stitch in each stitch all the way around, no increases, no decreases, just keep going. And now what I'm gonna do to start making go out is we ended on row 20 up here. So now we're gonna go to 21. So I'm gonna do an increase on every 21st stitch. And then we are going to do 1 row of increases, and then we're gonna do, the second row is gonna be the same. And then the 3rd row, we're gonna do increases again. And the 4th row is gonna be the same, if that makes sense. So instead of going out like that, it's gonna go out at an angle. Hopefully that's the plan. So I'm hoping that works. Also, I may or may not be in Zoom class right now, so I'm gonna go before they hear me making a video because that would be very embarrassing. Okay, so I'm at 20. 20 and 21 are gonna be an increase. So 20, 21, and then I start over again. I count until 20, and then 20 and 21 are gonna be an increase, and I do that the whole way around until I reach back at my stitch marker. Okay, I did one row of increases where I increased on every 21st stitch, and now I'm going to do just a single stitch in each one of these stitches all the way around. Yeah. Okay guys, I think I'm kind of done with the hat. I did about 11 rows, I counted. So I ended on an increase row, and that means I increased 6 times before I stopped after finishing my single stitch rows. So honestly, I feel like you can keep this going. You can keep the increases going for as long as you want, depending on how far out you want the bottom of your bucket hat to go. My hat is already kind of big and I really didn't want it to go too far out anyway, so I think I'm gonna stop here, but you could totally keep going if you wanted to make the flare out bit a little bit more flared out. So I'm just gonna end it here. I'm going to cut off the yarn and I'm going to try and do an invisible finish. I saw this on Pinterest. I've never done it before. I'm pulling it out. Is that correct? I think I did that right. I mean, it looks kind of invisible. You can't really see the knot there. Yeah, so I guess that's my invisible finish. I just took it through the side, pulled it out, and then tucked it into that middle, if that makes sense. I'm gonna link this video that I'm following down below so you can follow it better than I did it there. But I'm just gonna pull this back into the inside of the hat and stitch it through so it doesn't come undone, and I'm gonna stitch through the first strand too, and then our bucket hat is going to be finished. Okay guys, well that's the bucket hat tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed or learned something, or maybe just watch this video to pass some time. But I really like how it came out. It definitely is a little bit big for me, but I think it works. So yeah, that would be my main takeaway from this video is do not measure it for the circumference of your head, because that's what I tried doing and it came out too big. So I would say either look up a bucket hat measurement chart online or just make it smaller than you think you would need. But otherwise I think it looks really cute. I highly recommend this yarn for this bucket hat. I think the fuzzy texture really makes it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what I should crochet. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye, I'll see you guys next time.